Welcome to Now is the Time. And today we are very happy to be accompanied by President Sturt, who is the Kenya Nairobi West Mission President. President Sturt, welcome.
Thank you.
So we'll start by you introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your family.
Okay. Well, I was born in England, grew up in South Africa, in Cape Town, and then we emigrated to the United States, and that's where I've spent the last many, many years. Have a wonderful family. We have 4 children, and I was a business executive at a global company for many years before getting the call to come and serve as a mission president.
Okay. So was this the first call to serve as a mission president?
Yes. Yes. I went on a mission when I was young.
Okay.
That's one where I wanted to go and turned in an application and got called and served in Texas in the United States.
Okay.
This call came a little differently. I was at work one day and my cell phone rang, and it was President Uchtdorf, member of the Quorum of the Twelve's office, who said, "Can you come and with your wife and meet with him?" And then we met, and then later we met with President Oaks, and he extended a call to drop everything and come on mission for 3 years.
Wow. And here you are.
And here we are.
So how was it? Was it the first time to come to Kenya?
Yes, it was.
Seeing that you say you were born in England, and then you moved to South Africa.
Yes, I was just a few months old. So I spent about 14 years in South Africa.
Okay. So at least you had interacted with Africans in South Africa.
Yeah.
So was it any different in Kenya? You know, having lived in South Africa and coming to Kenya.
Yeah. Now, I lived there many, many years ago, but Kenya is a phenomenal place. It's an incredible place. When we got our mission call and we opened the letter to find out where are we going, and it said Kenya, I was really excited because I think for most of my life, I've thought I'd love to someday go to Kenya and go on safari and see Kenya, because everything I've ever heard has been really positive. And so when we got a call to serve as mission leaders here, it was pretty exciting to us.
Wow. Having been to South Africa is very developed, especially the road network. So how was your experience? I mean, comparing South Africa, Cape Town especially, to Kenya, Nairobi?
The driving is quite different. You know, in Cape Town, it's a little more orderly and lots of traffic lights and structure. Here, it was a little more fun, a little more wild and crazy. And sometimes in a 2-lane area, there might be 5 lanes of cars. And you know, dodging matatus and watching out for boda-bodas. And it became, you know, kind of an exciting way to drive. So it took us maybe a month or 2 to get used to driving in Kenya. But it's very active. There's always a lot going on. So it was kind of fun.
Okay. And so you started your mission in Kenya as a mission president. So how is it taken care of? As a mission president, would you tell us what the call entails?
Well, it's got many different dimensions to it. One of the keys is to oversee and take care of all of the missionaries within our mission. So when we arrived, the mission was all of Kenya. And so we had, when we arrived, I think about 112 missionaries, and then that continued to grow to over 200 missionaries. These are mostly young missionaries from about 18 years old to about 26, 27. And so it's a really exciting time of life, because those young men and women are learning and growing up. They are learning to teach the gospel of Jesus Christ. They're meeting people in all kinds of venues in the market, chatting with people in their homes, at the church. And so providing support to those missionaries, making sure that they feel comfortable, the new ones as they arrive, helping them not be homesick from wherever they were coming from, making sure they're healthy and they're eating well, and making sure they have apartments to live in. And so there's quite a lot of work. We meet with them every 6 weeks to have a meeting and to encourage them and provide training. And then we also interview them to see how they're doing and how their family is back home and how they're feeling and how they're growing.
Okay.
And so there's quite a lot involved in just helping all of that continue to work and run.
Sure.
And so that's the main responsibility of a mission president. Here in Kenya, it also means overseeing some of the congregations of members, those who live within districts, not so much right here in Nairobi, but out in the western part of Kenya.
Okay.
We have many districts with many branches of the church, and those responsibilities report up to me as well.
Okay.
So part of my responsibility then is to make sure they're doing okay, and we're adding new chapels and helping add new branches and just help the church grow in those areas.
Wow, that sounds like a lot.
It's a lot. It's
It
a lot
is.
because many of those districts are quite far away, like Eldoret, Kitale, Kisumu, Nakuru. Many of the areas we fly to go and visit members and leaders and provide training and instruction.
Okay. And it also feels like being a mission president is like being a parent to the missionaries.
Yes.
It's like
true.
having lots of children, to take care of.
I think we looked and we've had about 530 missionaries from the time we started in 2022 until now. So that is a lot of children.
That's a lot of children.
And some of them are very mature and know what's going on, and some are just learning and growing.
I know.
But most of the missionaries are in that age range that I referenced. And then we also have some senior missionaries.
Okay.
So these are typically couples who are generally retired from their work. They're usually in their 60s. Okay. And they just decide to volunteer to come out and help. And so they come to our mission, and they're just fantastic because they can also help become parents to the missionaries within the areas in which they're serving. Okay. And that has been fantastic because these are experienced members that know a lot about how things run and can help with things like self-reliance or teaching courses and helping families. And those have been just wonderful. So we have 5 couples that are in different parts of the country, and they've been terrific too.
In Kenya?
In Kenya.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That sounds like good help. Help that is needed. And if I may ask, looking at the age group of these missionaries, would you say that sometimes it can be difficult? When young people are growing, they have different ideas. There are those who listen. There are those who sometimes choose not to listen. So how do you deal with all that?
It's a good question. It's a lot like our own children, right? When you're raising teenagers, and you're always got some challenges and things going on. We have wonderful children. But yes, there's a pretty big range of people's backgrounds and experiences. They come from many different countries, all over Africa, Polynesian countries, North America, Europe. And so with all of those different backgrounds and experiences in life, there's some interesting things that come up. I'll give you one example. We had one of the American missionaries who was serving down in Chulu, where, it's more bush area. And a member gave him a small baby green mamba where he had taken the fangs out and said, "Hey, here's a pet for you." And so the missionary called me one day and said, "President, could I keep a baby green mamba as a pet in a box in our house?" And I said, "No, of course you can't. Those are so dangerous. Absolutely not." He goes, "Well, I thought you would say that." So he got rid of it. But yeah, you get some very interesting things that come up from time to time because of this age group. They're learning and growing, and at that age they're kind of invincible, right? And so, but they're really great young men and women. Anybody, in my opinion, who chooses to come for 2 years or 18 months and serve the Lord and go out and meet people and help them, and that's pretty remarkable. Not a lot of people are willing to do that. They work 6 days a week. They get 1 day off, and it's challenging work sometimes. And they sometimes go out and help people in their shambas. Sometimes they're hauling water for people. Sometimes they're just teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. True. And so they're dedicated. They work all day. And so I got a lot of respect for them, even though, yes, their age range means that we're going to see some interesting challenges sometimes. overall, I would say it's pretty amazing, especially if you compare them to their peer group in the same ages. What are they doing in the other parts of the world? It's pretty amazing what they do.
Would you say that having learned the gospel and definitely being in that age group, I would say they're still learning, and then they're willing to go out and teach others. Helps, helps them all rounded, in their life, in maybe how they conduct themselves.
Yeah. It helps them a lot. And we see that. For example, I remember a young sister missionary coming in, and as I was interviewing her, saying, hey, how are you doing? And what are you nervous about? What are you excited about? She goes, well, I'm really shy. I just don't really talk to people very much. And so this is going to be hard for me because a big part of missionary work is talking to other people.
True.
And she just said, but I kind of like to be on my own. And so I'm really nervous about that. I said, well, no problem. Just jump in and you'll have a companion with you. Missionaries travel in pairs so they can help each other out. And I said, you watch over time, you'll become more comfortable with talking to people. And she sort of wondered, I don't know that that's going to happen. But you know what? Over the months, with more and more experience, you see her now, you would never know she's shy. She can talk to anybody in group settings. She's comfortable. She's much more open. She's more relaxed. She's not so closed and kind of quiet and stressed. She can talk to anybody. And you just see somebody like that just blossom because of the opportunity of being a missionary. True. And just the demands of missionary work. And I love seeing that. I love to see people grow. I love this age because in that 18 to 20 something, they're learning about themselves. They're learning what their likes are. They're learning what challenges they can get through. There's a lot. And it's wonderful because they're still pretty flexible. Yeah. They're kind of willing to learn. They're not like us old people where we get kind of stuck in our ways. Yeah. They're and it's amazing how fast they learn. Many of them learn Swahili and they just start talking to people and they just love it and they get good at it. And often people look at them, especially those coming from the US or coming from Europe, and they're like, whoa.
Tell us about that. I've always wondered, a missionary is going to come to Kenya for the first time, never heard about Swahili. And by the end of a few months, they're speaking Swahili. And even some mother tongue. I know some who served in Chulu and they would speak Kamba. And I'll be so amazed. How does that happen?
How does it happen? It's pretty amazing. I think some missionaries just have a natural aptitude to learn, but others feel like that's an important part of their mission is being able to converse with people in their own language. And especially Chulu is a great example because especially when you go kind of further out and you're talking to even some of the older people, that's all they speak is Kamba. And so as missionaries, of course, they want to interact with them. Of course, they want to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with them. So they'll often just start learning. And often they do that by kids because the kids will just laugh and teach them stuff. And then they'll study hard. And several of them will go in, and especially with Swahili, they'll use an app and they'll be studying, or they'll go through and have a dictionary there and they'll just start practicing words. And then sometimes we'll pair them with somebody who does speak Swahili already. And so we love Kenyan missionaries, for example. We have a number of Kenyan missionaries. And so if we pair a Kenyan with somebody from another country, they can help them learn Swahili. So they can learn surprisingly fast. In fact, I had one who's from Kakamega, and he's lived in Kenya his whole life, and he speaks Swahili pretty fluently. And I remember one day I was saying, how's this one Swahili? This North American, how's his Swahili really? He goes, he speaks it better than me.
Wow.
I thought, wow. And I asked him, I said, how did you do that? He said, I studied a lot. At night after they come in, he was determined, I'm going to learn Swahili. And he was very proficient in it. So I think those who really want to apply themselves and study it, they pick it up pretty fast.
True.
Yeah.
Definitely. Being on mission is a learning experience. And how beautiful that you can even learn another language that probably you never thought, that you would learn.
Some we have coming from countries that are French speakers, for example, Cameroon or DRC or, other countries where English, they've never learned English. And so they'll go to a mission training center first, and they'll get introduced to English there for a number of weeks, maybe a month or two. And then they come, and, when you're just immersed and everybody speaks either English or Swahili, you have to learn fast if you want to, interact.
True.
And so they always leave fluent in English.
True. And the work is about interacting.
It is.
So how best than not to learn the language so that it can be easy for you?
Exactly.
And what would you say? A lot of Kenyans probably feel that the church is an English-speaking church. Do you feel that there's something that we can do maybe to change that narrative?
Yeah. It depends where the church is operating. In some areas where English is so commonly spoken, then all of those services are in English. We have other areas where they speak Kamba or they speak Kiswahili, because that's what most of the people in that village or that town speak. And so I think it's just based on where they are. Clearly, the headquarters of the church is in the United States, where English is spoken. True. But the church operates in over 200 countries around the world. And in many of those countries, they're in the languages of those countries. You go to Thailand and they're speaking Thai, and they're not speaking English. So it's very common for our churches around the world to be conducted in the language where they're operating.
That's nice. So that is to say that we can go to a service and find them speaking Swahili.
You can.
Or if it's in Ukambani, maybe find them speaking Kamba.
Yes.
So do we have Kamba hymns, hymn books?
There are a number of the materials that are translated into Kamba. And in fact, when I was in Chile, they kept saying, hey, translate more so that we can have everything, like all the scriptures and everything in Kamba. And then we just have to weigh out how many people can only speak Kamba versus could they read Swahili. And if they can, then, there's so many dialects, so many different mother tongues, even Kenya alone, whether 46 or 48, something like that.
Even Kamba itself has different dialects.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it does. So I don't know, maybe translating one would need to doing it, in several other dialects.
Yeah. And that's expensive to sit down on all the printed materials, hymn books, and everything else. So I think we try to just take it a step at a time.
But we have Swahili.
Yes.
We have the Book of Mormon in Swahili. Hymn book.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
A hymn book in Swahili.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyone who understands and speaks only Swahili then is able to come to church and will definitely understand what the church is all about.
And again, it just depends congregation by congregation how much Swahili. In some congregations, I've noticed that they'll have one speaker in the sacrament service who gives an English talk, and then a different one will give a Swahili talk, so that everybody gets a chance to hear in the language that they can understand.
Okay. And so you said that there's one day in a week where the missionaries have an off day.
Yes.
So tell us about that. What do they do?
Yeah, we call it a preparation day, and it's when they get to catch up on the things that you need to do. For example, doing their laundry, doing their wash, cleaning their apartment, making sure that it stays nice and clean. We want them to have fun on a P-Day, because when you're working 6 days a week, you need to unwind and have some fun. So often they'll get together, a bunch of them, and play football or, just find some other fun activity. And we encourage them to do that. Our motto is always work hard and play hard.
True.
Right? So that you can feel healthy.
Yes.
And you can enjoy. So they look forward to those days. They also will call their families to check in with them and see how they're doing, and allows them to stay nice and connected to their families back home.
Okay. And does that also apply to the older missionaries?
The senior missionaries have a little more relaxed rules because, they're in their 60s or even sometimes 70s. And so they have a little more flexibility.
Okay.
So sometimes they may do some things on one day or another, or if they're really tired after a heavy morning, they can maybe come home and take a quick nap
Okay.
and get refreshed and then go back out. But they do a lot of amazing things. Some of them have been helping with some self-reliance initiatives to try to encourage people to strengthen their financial security and food security. And so they've been going out and helping with chickens or pigs or, tailoring and all kinds of things that really are just there to help. So those senior missionaries, they're wise. They've lived a lot of life.
True. And
they have some good experience, so they can counsel with people and provide some training for some of the leaders that may be new leaders. As in our church, we don't have any paid clergy. They just are called to serve as a bishop or as a branch president. And so how do they get trained? They didn't go to seminary. They didn't go to theology school for years to prepare for that. They were just simply asked to help participate and to help lead. And so they provide a lot of training and guidance to some of those leaders as they help grow into becoming great leaders.
Okay. So the callings are just given. So callings are given and then you're trained.
Yes.
As you work.
And the training is just on the job.
Nice.
For this job as a mission president, we went to a mission training center, but only for about 3.5 days.
Wow.
And they provided some other materials, but most of what you learn is on the job. It's kind of like the Jesus disciples. You think back, you read through the New Testament, and you don't hear that they went to a seminary for a few years and then Jesus called them.
True.
What were they doing? They were out fishing.
Yeah.
And he said, "Come, follow me." And they left their nets and they followed him. And then what did he teach them? He taught them the gospel of Jesus Christ, how to talk to other people, how to give blessings to them, everything they learned on the job, as disciples. Yeah. And that's how the church operates. In everything we do, we're just simply called and asked to do a particular role. And then we step into that and learn how to do it. And we joke around that by the time we kind of figure out how to do it, then we're released. Like this job, we've been doing this for 3 years. And I think we're starting to figure out how to do it. And
it's
now
time to go.
It's time to go. And then new mission leaders will come in to replace us.
And which is nice. And then you get training on something else. You start training on something else.
Before this, I was a Sunday school teacher. And I loved that. And I'm hoping when I go back home, maybe I'll get a chance to teach Sunday school again.
That is nice.
Yeah.
And about yourself. So on the, we'll call it, you said preparation day.
Yes.
So what do you do?
On preparation day, the first few months when my wife and I came here, there was so much to do. We were so busy. We just didn't even get a preparation day. We were just working and working, working. And after a while, we thought, we are just going to run out. We are just going to run out of energy. And it's just so much to do all the time. Work, work, work. And so we decided, no. We've got to unwind. And so one of the things that we've loved to do is play golf. Nice. And so my wife, thankfully, likes to play golf. And I like to play golf. And so we find a local course and then we'll go out and play. And what I've loved about that is, it's so beautiful here. I mean, how do you beat the weather in Nairobi? It's unbelievable. There's no snow here. You can play all year long.
I know.
So typically early on a Monday morning, we'll get out and we'll play 18 holes. And by the time we come away from that, we feel refreshed. We've heard the birds. We've walked amongst the trees. We've hit a golf ball around a little bit, and we come away feeling like, okay, now we can tackle the activities of the coming week.
Beautiful. And did you play a lot of golf at home?
Not nearly enough.
And especially the seasons. I feel like golf is one game that most Kenyans should play because we don't have winter. We need to play golf from December to December.
All year long, you can play here. Yeah. Back home, if the snow would cover the ground all the way through the winter season, so you can't play. You can only play from usually about March, April till about September, October. And so here, it's beautiful. And even in the rainy season,
you can still play.
You can still get out there.
Yes.
And again, I love being outdoors. And for me, outdoors is what rejuvenates me. So it makes it fun.
That's nice. Golf is a very good game. And I also feel like, yes, I do. Also, I'm still non-handicapped, but I still enjoy golf. And sometimes it feels like it's addictive.
It is.
If you choose a day, you keep feeling like I need to play golf before I can start, start the week, and that is beautiful. So, what are some of the experiences that you've had in Kenya as a mission president that that have stuck in your heart, that are going to that you will take away with you? Maybe you can share one or two.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of experiences. I couldn't even begin to cover even, a tenth of them. But I think they all revolve around people. As beautiful as Kenya is, and animals that are amazing in the parks and the mountains and the ocean, out in Mombasa. And we've had a chance to be all over Kenya. And so the surroundings are beautiful. But to me, the most powerful of those experiences are with the people in Kenya. And that we've been inspired. My wife and I have been inspired by so many things. We've seen people who've made great sacrifices to come and attend church together. I've seen just a lot of goodness in the people of Kenya. People are friendly here. People are willing to talk, and they're kind, and they're generous with their time and their resources. It's pretty remarkable to watch, and to be in people's homes. I remember in one particular home out in Western Kenya, we were invited into somebody's home, and the man of the house who invited us in had a number of people there who he wanted to have us come and share the gospel of Jesus Christ with. And he said, let me show you my home. I built this home. And it was made out of, some sticks and some mud and a nice roof on it. And I just was so impressed. I thought, I don't know how to do this. He built his own house, and it was wonderful. And he was just gracious and invited us in. And that type of thing happened a lot, where we just felt like we were part of Kenya. We weren't treated as some outsiders. We were treated as family, and people just that little phrase that I've heard so many times: feel at home. Feel at home. I remember sitting in with somebody out near Narok, a Maasai family, and just come, be part of us, and sharing a meal together, and just great memories of just sharing life experiences, which are so similar, even though we come from different countries and different backgrounds. We all are concerned about the same things: our families, and how our children are growing up, and how to help our parents, and how to care for each other, and what's the meaning of life, and how am I doing? Am I finding joy and happiness in my life? These are things that are shared by everyone around the world. And so that to me felt wonderful. Some of the experiences, I think one experience we had recently that will stick with me was being up in Kakuma in the refugee camp. We had some members of the church who were refugees from other countries who were saying, please, can we have a church up here? We want to be able to take the sacrament and worship together. And they're far from anywhere, right? The nearest church for us is in Kitale, 350 kilometers away. And so they kept asking, please, please. So we flew up there and we visited with them. And then we received approval to create a branch there. And so now we have a branch
in Kakuma.
In Kakuma, in the refugee camp.
Yes.
And when we went up there to create the branch, there were 76 people there.
Who are members?
No, we had 5 members, and all of their families and friends came. And then since that time, we've had, I think last month, we had 26 people join the church there. So now we have over 30 members, and there were 96 people there. And so it's just growing. And to see the children playing and feeling the love of God and for each other, it was touching to me and profound. And it makes me think more about others and less about myself. It helps me understand there are a lot of people who can use some help.
True. And that's very, very special. I mean, being in a refugee camp and you're able to be taught of the gospel and be ready, to embrace it. And yes, I think we are all looking for the purpose and the meaning of life, and where else to find it apart from in the gospel.
Exactly. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And that's a deeper level of hope than just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And that lifts people, it elevates them, and I think it helps them see a bigger picture to life than just the difficulties of the current moment, and to see them ministering to each other and helping each other. You know, this the last beginning of the rainy season, they had some really bad flooding.
Yes.
And to just see people jumping in to help each other out, that's the heart of it.
Humanity.
Yeah. Just a love for each other and treating each other, even though they're coming from different countries and different backgrounds, to just treat each other like we're all children of God. We're all siblings.
Yeah. Okay, that's beautiful. And you're also an author, and a New York Times bestseller of great work. Tell us about that.
Well, that was an interesting project that prior to coming on mission, as I mentioned, I was an executive in a company where we did a lot of research on how people in companies all around the world, in jobs really all around the world, what they did when they did something that was notable, that was recognized. You know, somebody who does something that really helps in an organization, often that organization wants to thank them and say thank you for their extra effort that they applied, or maybe an innovation, or maybe they found a way to save the company money or win a new account. And so the company I work for provided recognition awards to companies to give to their employees to say thank you for what they had done, which was a really cool business. It was a really great thing, right? Because not enough people say thank you at work. They think, oh, I've already paid you in a paycheck.
True.
But the smart companies out there pay attention when their people do something that's noteworthy, that's extra, that makes a difference. And so we had access to a lot of data from organizations all over the world who had thanked their people. And as part of that process, they had written through the software that we provide them the descriptions of what that person did that deserved a President's Award. So we had access to all of that data. And I was thinking to myself one day, wouldn't it be great to study that data? What could we learn about what people did and how they did it? And so we had a research group at the organization. And I said, hey, let's get a research team together and let's really study this and see if there are any patterns across thousands, even tens of thousands of examples of award-winning work. What did they do? How did they do it? And so we analyzed all of this. We did this research for two and a half years of research. And we learned a bunch of interesting things about what regular people, these aren't like superstar people that you think, oh, I'm not genius like that. These are regular people in regular jobs, what they actually did that led to them making a big difference. And we found some patterns. And we thought at the end of that, this is really cool. I think this could help a lot of people. And so we decided, why don't we write about it? And why don't we write a book about it? And so we met as a team of writers and researchers, and I headed that team, and we interviewed lots and lots of people, like the inventor of the cell phone and other people, to try to round out how do people do this. And so that's what we wrote about. It was called Great Work. And so it was a fun project, and I think it taught us all a lot about how we can all be more innovative and think outside the box and do things that really make a difference.
Exactly. And from that, do you think that a lot of us can actually become extra? Maybe with the knowledge,
Yeah, I do.
with the pattern, knowing exactly what to do. And
I do. I'm convinced of that because of all of the people we met with. That's how they did it. It wasn't some magic thing. They just had a desire to make a difference, and then they did some things that led to outcomes that everyone went, wow, look at what you did. And I'm inspired by that. I think that's what we all want to do, isn't it? I mean, we all need to work, but at some point, we want to make a difference, really. And if people want to do that, there's some ways to do that.
True. And we also want to be remembered for something, and especially something good.
Hopefully so, right?
Yeah,
I think most people, that's how they are.
Most people. And so where can we get the book? If someone wanted to read great
on
work?
Amazon, you know, I'm not sure what the book distribution outlets are here in Kenya. I'm more familiar with North American book distributions, but it's available in Kindle. It's available in online versions as well as print.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great work. I'll be sure to read the book. I will be sure to read the book. So in conclusion, what would you like to tell us? We definitely are going to, I know that you're nearing the end of your mission.
Yes.
So you have been one of the mission presidents that are very open, that are very relatable too. I mean, people can easily walk to you and talk to you. I don't know. It's a personality, definitely. I don't know whether people learn or it just comes from them. But I'm sure a lot of Kenyans are really going to miss, you know, just being able to walk up to a mission president, ask a question, you know, find out about different things in church and outside church. So what would you like to tell us?
Well, in answer to the question, you know, what makes it that way? You know, we're all regular people. We're all children of God, and we're given different assignments, and we take on those assignments. This one, again, I didn't ask for it. It just came one day to say, would you be willing to drop everything, step away from your job, and just come and serve as a volunteer, you know, for the Lord for 3 years? And so we're not any more special than anybody else. We just have assignments that we're given, and we jump in, and we hopefully treat each other with love and respect. To me, that's really important. That's one of the great things that Jesus taught. You know, when he said, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you. And then he underscored that by saying, by this shall all men know ye are my disciples, if ye have love one for another. And I believe that, and we try to live by that. And to me, that means not thinking you're better than anybody else or less approachable. We're all together in this. And so that's important to me. And I think it's important to the Lord. That's how he taught. If you look at, as you read all of his life and how he interacted with others, he never put himself above anybody else. He always interacted. In fact, one of the greatest examples of all time of a leadership was when he washed his disciples' feet. It's just an obvious sign that he didn't see himself above other people. And I think if we can all do that, it makes us, I think, more relatable, and it makes us all in this together. But I think if there was something that I take away from this experience, I think it's seeing the hand of God in people's lives and in those who seek to follow him. I think this has been an amazing experience. We are changed as a result of it. To see the growth of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Kenya is amazing to me. When we arrived in Western Kenya, there were 16 branches of the church, and now there's over 40. And that's in 3 years. And I think, wow, imagine the next 3 years, and then the next 3 years, and the next 3 years. And with a temple here, and there's just so many wonderful things that are happening in Kenya. And my hope is that it will lift people, that it will help bring them peace. It'll help them bring them joy in their families. It'll help point them to lives that are enriched by following the Savior and doing his will. And he's promised us that again and again. If you keep my commandments, you'll be blessed in the land.
True.
And my hope for Kenya is that it's blessed more and more as people focus on trying to follow God and treat each other with love and respect. And there's just so many, I think, wonderful things ahead. Even though there's troubles and there's political wrangling and things, there's a lot that cause people uncertainty and concern. But I think Kenyans seem strong to me, and they seem resilient, that they can get through these things and continue to shape a country that will lead out in not only Eastern Kenya, but I think all of Africa. I think
Amazing.
Kenya has some great resources and some amazing people. So even though we're finishing our assignment here, we'll be on the other side of the world cheering, cheering you on, saying, "Go, Kenya!" You know, this is we love Kenya. We love the people of Kenya, and that will always stay in our hearts.
Thank you, Mayor, very, very much, President Sturt. This has been a very, I think everyone in Kenya who was here as a member or who became a member, you know, in the time that you have been a mission president, I am definitely sure that they have felt the love and the concern that you had for the people, and we shall definitely miss you. But we look forward to seeing you again. I hope that you're going to travel, you know, come back to Kenya again and again. And thank you very much, even for making time to share your story with us, to share your experiences, and even give us the uplifting scriptures and comments, because yes, we learn every day, we learn. And if we're going to learn by love and respect and putting our focus in our Heavenly Father, then definitely we're going to be on the path of being disciples of Jesus Christ. So thank you, and karibu tena.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.